This is FSPN, the most trusted name in fake news. My name is Frankie from Flatbush, and we're here to talk about the New York Jets and NFL football and football in general. If you like the program, go ahead and click the like button, see if we can get up to 50 likes. And if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow. We'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we'd like your help with that. So if you could click the little subscribe button, it is free. We would appreciate it. Okay, now let's turn on our docket. We got a docket for today, and we're going to talk about the issues of the day. What else do we do on the Frankie from Flatbush show? We review the news. First and foremost, Aaron Glenn Wednesday presser. First and foremost, injuries. We got some. Not a ton. Jarvis Brown-Lee will be out with his hip injury. Marcelino McCrary Ball with his crazy celebrations, he's going to be out with a hamstring. So keep it on the down low with the celebrations. Marcelino, they call him Lino. I would call him Selly, but I guess he prefers Lino. Marcelino. He's out. Now, interestingly, Will McDonald limited. He should be fine. Jermaine with his ankle again, DNP, but they say he should be fine. And then Tony Adams, DNP. And again, AG said he should be ready to go. Now, Quantez Stiggers is in the concussion protocol, and he did not practice today. So that's not good. The final step in the concussion protocol, you have to get through a practice and then suffer no symptoms afterward. That's the final step. So he's got to practice tomorrow, or else he's going to be out also. AG said he's going to be ready to go. I don't know how he could know that. He's got to get through practice. He's got to practice tomorrow and then get through the practice with no symptoms. You know, if he were LP today, you could say, okay, that's looking good. But he's DNP, so Stiggers might be out. I also voted for Stiggers today for the Pro Bowl. You might want to check it out. Pro Bowl voting is open. Might as well go ahead and vote for Quantez Stiggers and Austin McNamara and some of our special teams players. Maybe even vote for Hennessy, the long snapper. Why not? The special teams have been great. Where by DVOA standards, we're number one in the league. We're number one. We're number one in the least important of all three phases, but still. Good job, Chris Banjo. Good job, Kevin O'Day, who never gets mentioned. He's the assistant special teams coach. And so good job, and good job, everybody on the units. Nobody ever gives the men who actually do the blocking and tackling any credit. But go ahead and vote for Quantez Stiggers. He's somebody who's got a shot. And what a story that would be. This is a guy who he didn't play any college at all. Unique path, to say the least, to get to the league. And then imagine if he were a Pro Bowl special teamer. I mean, what a story that is. You got to hold on to something this year when you're a Jet fan, because we don't have a lot to really hold on to. And then also Cam Jones. So speaking of special teams, Cam Jones was designated for return, so he's got his 21-day window open, so it's possible, and he was a full participant today, so it's possible that he gets activated for Sunday. And if so, he's another special teams demon. So the special teams, which is already number one, might get even better. So we'll have to see about that. He's also a linebacker, and if he could be linebacker 3, where that's something we're looking for, Marcelino has had his chance. Hasn't really been doing much with it except committing stupid penalties. So, that spot is still wide open. In terms of Aaron Glenn, you could tell his overall demeanor. He's still getting more and more comfortable as the head coach. He's evolving. I think he's improving. That's what we wanted to see. But there are going to be times when he's still prickly. How do I know that? Well, I watched his press conferences when he was the Detroit defensive coordinator. And that's the way he was with them. So he's not any different. Sometimes he's friendly. Sometimes he's amiable. Other times he's prickly. That's Aaron Glenn. But overall, you can kind of tell in his body language and the way he reacts to these questions, he's getting more and more comfortable. And now, the other thing, you see, we got the rivalry uniforms. They put it everywhere, the Jets, on the backdrop, on their social media, everywhere, everything. New rivalry uniforms. And I think They're so good, they should be our uniforms. They should replace our stupid green and white. Now, a lot of people don't like when I say we got to get rid of the green and white, but how long can we go with uniforms that are the same color as the playing surface? I don't think that that's a good idea. It's like a basketball team coming out and their uniform is planks of wood. That's not, you wouldn't do that. But the Jets will go with the green and white, the exact colors, the exact kind of green and exact kind of white that's exactly on the playing surface. But you look at these uniforms, they're I don't know what kind of green that is. It's a dark green. It looks black, but I think the helmets are black, but it's maybe it is kind of black. But I like it. And people are going to say, oh no, the manhole cover uniforms. I kind of like that it's gritty from the streets. That's what we are. We're trying to claw our way out of the ghetto of the NFL. The ghetto, the middle class neighborhood, the gated community. We're in the ghetto. We're living in a double wide. We might even be in a single wide. And we're clawing from the dirt and the grubbiness and the grit. We're trying to climb out of a manhole cover. So why not have the uniforms reflect that? I don't know. I do not like those green and whites. Not that, if they actually look nice the way they are. I don't mind the color combination, and I don't mind the way they're designed right now. But they're the same color as the playing surface. That's got to be fixed. All right, the beat harped on. Oh, the beat. These fuckers, man. They harped on the interceptions issue again, and they actually asked him 2 questions about these. Why can't you intercept a pass? Now, it is odd that we haven't had a pick. Does it really matter that much? Probably not. We don't have a good defense. When you don't have a good defense, especially if you don't have a good pass rush, you're not going to get a lot of interception. But what difference does it make if we had 1 interception, 2 interceptions, no interceptions? We're a bad defense. That's the problem. And we need lots of much better players in order to become good again. And one other thing about the media that we need to keep in mind. It was a good opportunity to take a look. Country Club Connor Hughes, it's always that motherfucker, tried a trap question at the end, and one clue to a trap question is a long-ass preamble with lots of presuppositions. That's how he tries to confuse you. This is a known technique where you ask a long, rambling questions with a lot of assumptions in it, this and this, and you make all these assertions. Meanwhile, the coach is up there. He probably wants to shoot down 2 or 3 of those, but in the moment, it's hard to remember when it's such a long preamble. It's hard to remember all the presuppositions built into the question. That's the trick. And so, if he asked a shorter question with one of those in there, then Glenn would just shoot it down and say, I disagree with what you're assuming there about da-da-da-da. But because there's 5 or 6 in there, it's hard to keep track in the moment. So Country Club Connor just continues to be the douchebag that he is, and that's what gets him where he is. Like, being a narcissistic douchebag, you'd say, well, that's bad. You shouldn't be that way. But in his profession, that's how you make the money, honey. He went from a local douchebag nobody all the way up to the Athletic. That's hard to do. And now he works for SNY, also hard to do. So the fact that he asks the tough questions and gets all this stuff, and that's gotten him where he is in his career. So congratulations to him. But we should always keep it in mind. And if you see him out in public, you should probably throw tomatoes at him because the guy's trying to take down our head coach. But nobody ever really does that. Even though these guys the media could act short of like murder or like anything serious like that. The media could do anything, and 95% of the public will just go, well, that's the way it is. I don't know. What do you want me to do about it, Frankie? All right, topic numero dos. We got another topic. Whoa, Nelly. What's this about? Well, the Jets signed to the practice squad a man by the name of Samuel Womack III, former 5th-round pick of the San Francisco 49ers. And this guy is a defensive back, cornerback. And, of course, we're short a couple of folks. got some lingering injuries back there. Jarvis Brownlee's out. We traded Ahmad Gardner and all that. Now, this guy, I mean, he was pretty decent last year. 673 snaps. He was didn't get much play in his first 2 years in the league, but then last year he went to, I think it was in Indianapolis, and put up 673 snaps. That's a lot. And PFF graded him out with a 71.4 and 71.3 in coverage. So he actually did pretty well. Now, this year he's only got 54 snaps, so not sure what happened. Their team got better, that's for sure. So maybe he got pushed out of the rotation. Maybe he had some injuries. Not entirely sure. But for a practice squad player, you could do a lot worse than Samuel Womack, a guy who just last year played 673 snaps and played pretty well. Only a 10.3% missed tackle rate. Reception rate's fine. I mean, there's nothing terrible about his year. He even had 2 interceptions last year. That would be the team leader on our team for this year. Obviously, we don't have any as a whole team. So, so a nice little pickup. Now, we did have to let go Brandon Smith. So B. Smitty not here no more. So the preseason favorite, Brandon Smith, adios. I guess we just, I don't know. We just don't like Brandon Smith for some reason. He did get a call up once, and that's about it. Never got much action in terms of the offense. But what I like about this is Muji's keeping on trying to improve the roster fringes. For example, this is a guy, if he plays well, he could get a futures contract with us. He could get a 1-year contract with us next year for the minimum. We're going to need a lot of backup types. So I think we're using the rest of the season to kind of take a look at some of these guys and see if they could maybe fit in as an El Cheapo backup as we try to think about allocating our funds for next year's roster. So he's a candidate. Nick Needham, for example, hasn't gotten a call-up. He's on our practice squad. Trey Brown's on our practice squad. He hasn't gotten a call-up. These are defensive backs. Jordan Clark's only gotten 1 call-up. And Jarius Monroe, the safety, got 1 call-up. So Monroe and Clark got 1 call-up each. Trey Brown has not been called up. Nick Needham has not gotten called up, so Sam Womack might have a chance to stick around here. If he's healthy and if he shows out in practice, he's got a shot to get a call-up, especially with Brownlee out. Brownlee, that's going to mean somebody's getting called up here probably, most likely. And we'll see. It'll be interesting if it's Womack, because that'll mean Trey Brown, Nick Needham probably, they're not going to be long for this team, because if a guy who just signed here 5 minutes ago gets a call up and you don't, what does that say about you? So, but Womack, probably has Nick Needham has a lot of experience. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But these are kind of the roster fringe moves that you do want to see and could be roster fillers for next year. All right, so we'll have to see about that. All right, third, Chimney Nugs. We got some Chimney Nugs. These are nuggets of information from Dick Chimney. Now, he does a terrible podcast, as we all know. It's called Flight Deck. He has 10,000 people work on it. He's got a producer. He's got an executive assistant. He's got all these people. And he puts out a terrible podcast, but he's able to get a person like Jordan Reed on. Now, Jordan Reed is an ESPN scout type, former quarterback in college. And Mr. Jordan Reed was brought on to talk about the quarterbacks in this year's class. A couple of things he said. He didn't say anything too revolutionary. Everything that I've been telling you and everything that the reputable and I would say trustworthy scouting types in the community have been saying were echoed by Jordan Reed. He thinks that there's 3 first-round quarterbacks in this draft. Fernando Mendoza, potentially in this draft. We have to see if they come out. Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, and Ty Simpson. He thinks that Mendoza is a fit for the Jets because Chimney asked him that specifically. And, because, after all, he grew up in Miami, which is the South, of course. But Florida, as we are sitting here in Florida, has a lot of New Yorkers and New Jersey people, as we know. So it's not like growing up in rural, Alabama or Mississippi or something. He grew up near Miami. Uh, but Chimney asked him about the mentality, his mentality and personality. Could he deal with the media? Is he going to be able to handle that? And he said, yeah, he'll be able to handle that just fine. So he thinks that's a fit. And as we know, Muji and staff have scouted Indiana 3 or 4 times in person. So they're obviously quite interested in Mendoza. They've also scouted Oregon 4 times. So in person, that is. So they're obviously looking at Dante Moore, but of course Oregon has tons and tons of talent, draftable talent on it. Indiana, some, but probably not as much. So interesting about Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed just confirming, all that I've told you and all that the reputable, trustworthy scouting types have said about this class as well. And then in his article, one quote from AG that stood out to me. Aaron Glenn said, I've become confident in my thought process when he was talking about, hey, somebody asked him, hey, have you improved as the year goes on? I've become confident in my thought process, which, if you think about it, just translates into better game management, right? And I told you, well, you got to hope he improves, and I think he is improving. Everybody else was saying, fire him, fire him. I was saying, whoa, hold on. It hasn't been good, but you got to hope that he can get better. And I think he is. And what that probably means, he's getting the staff better coordinated. He's getting the processes better coordinated as to how information flows down to him in game situations in real time. This is a first-time head coach. He's got to get used to everything. Give him a second, for God's sakes. And it seems like he said that, and then I've been watching him on the sidelines, and that seems to be true to me. It seems true. Like, he does seem more confident in his thought process, and that is reflected in his behavior and what he's saying and how he's, back and forth with the officials and how he's interacting with the players. Sometimes he's being tough guy. Other times when good things are going on, he's, rah-rah. And he just seems very much more comfortable. When you're confident in your thought process, you become comfortable in what you're doing, in this case, on the sidelines. And so I think that that's true, and that's a good sign. And then we've also been winning more. So we are 3-2 in our last 5 games, people. They haven't all been impressive wins, but they've been wins nonetheless. You can't argue. And so, if we started out the year 3-2, how would you feel about Aaron Glenn? Put it that way. What if these 5 wins these 5 games came at the beginning of the year, and after the first 5, we were 3-2? What would you think? All right. Well, it didn't start out that way, Frankie. You can't play ifs and buts. Okay, but what if what if Chris Boswell misses a 60-yarder, and the Tampa kicker slips at the end of that game, and we get another fluky kind of win? Now, how are we feeling about Aaron Glenn? So, and those things do happen. There are teams that get wins every week that they really don't deserve. But then when you win, the halo effect occurs, and that's a cognitive bias where, in football, it's when you win, then everything the coach says and does is wonderful. If you lose, everything the coach says and does is terrible. So there you go. Those are the main things. All right, what's number 4? We got a couple other things. Did you know this? Copper Coles. What's this all about, Frankie? Well, Laverius Coles has become a police officer. What? Yeah. There's his picture right there. Why did former Jets wide receiver become a police officer? It starts with his heart. Dan Pompei wrote an article for The Athletic, and this is a terrible article, actually. This could have been, it goes through, basically this article could have been 75% shorter, but he drags it all out. Laverius Coles, 47 years old, went through a lot of troubles and weird, rough upbringing, let's say, as a kid, and now he wants to be on the other side of it and wants to help people. He wants to be a police officer. That's the article. It's really, but here's the Laverius Coles, 47, recently completed 9 months of training in the Jacksonville, that's Florida, Sheriff's Office Academy. After another month or so as a probationary officer, he will be a full-fledged policeman. Why? That's what people who knew him wondered. And the answer is he just wanted to do it. And I think this is wonderful. I think more people should either become police officers or at least get to know them. I mean, I work in risk management. I, interact with police offices and officers all the time, and I've never had a problem. Yeah, but you're not black, Frankie. You don't understand. Right. So people who are minorities, that's even more reason for you to get involved and understand their point of view and maybe share your point of view and what you're going through and what your struggles are so they can understand you better. There's ride-alongs. There's all sorts of programs, community programs where you can get to know your local police officers, and I would highly recommend them to anyone who's worried about the police. Not to mention, if you get in trouble, it could be that police officer that pulls up that night and he knows you. There's kind of a benefit. Like if you've been hanging out and they get to know you a little bit, they know your name, they know who you are, and maybe cut you some slack, maybe helps you out. But so this is great. I'm glad to see it. And it's a little unusual, but he will be a police officer in about a month. He'll be making $32.92 an hour. So good for Laverius. Nice to see. All right, let's take a look at any late breaking news. We do have one late breaking story that happened that's also good news. So Chris Boyd, who, speaking of police officers, was shot. That's not good. Outside of a Manhattan nightclub, he was with Jamin Sherwood and Irvin Charles, the Wolf. And apparently got into a little bit of a confrontation with another group of dudes who apparently were jealous of their clothing. The police said that's odd. And somebody fired a shot and it went right into Chris Boyd, and that's not good. And then he had to go to the hospital, and it came very close to dying. But now I guess it looks like he's going to be all right because today he visited the facility out of the hospital, limping along, went and said hey to the fellas, went into the special teams meeting room, and everybody went crazy and happy to see him and all this. And, so that's good. So I guess he's going to be on his way to healing up. So great for Chris Boyd, great to see, and all of his teammates happy to see him, and so that's good news. So that's the late breaking story. Let's just check the feeds and see. Well, this is interesting. More late breaking news, not about the Jets, but kind of interesting. Ravens signed Mark Andrews to a 3-year contract extension. 3 years, $39 million. He's getting kind of up there in age. Not sure about that one. A good player, but interesting. The Jets need to make some signings here, I would say soon. Really strong deal for Andrews. Yeah, a really strong deal for him. Not so well. We got to see the contract details to know. The Bills have claimed Darius Slay off waivers from the Steelers. That seems like a desperation move. So, some interesting moves. The Jets, I think Mucci really needs to make some low, not any priority signing, but get some more dudes under contract for next year that we want, like Kene Nwangu, for example. That's not going to cost a lot. People like that, Max Mitchell. We could get Max Mitchell done. He's not going to be a big free agent. You give him a nice, for him contract. He has a nice little role that he carved out here. All right, today's also National Signing Day, so there's a lot of news in the college. We're not going to go over all that. Let's just check with the Jet beat writers here. So the Jets also waived, probably with an injury settlement, Byron Cowart from IR. And we don't know what that's about. That could be a mutual thing where he just wanted to rehab at home or whatever, and in order to be away from the facility, you kind of have to release him, so you have to waive him, and they usually do that with an injury settlement, though I haven't seen that written anywhere. Sidelined with an ankle injury, Dennis Wazak says. But he cleared waivers, so nobody took him. So, like Byron Cowart might be a guy you might want to sign for next year, for example. You could get him for dirt cheap, Mooj. He might want to come back. Steve Wilkes spoke highly of him all through the preseason and all. That's a guy, $1 million deal probably gets it done. How much is he? That's what he got last time, and then he got injured. So how much more is he going to make? He's probably a vet minimum guy. So if I was Mooj, I would start moving on some of these vet minimum guys. Shoot, if you get in the next month or two or whatever, you get some information that Chris Boyd is going to be okay, sign him to a vet minimum. We got to start filling up the roster, the back end of the roster, with some of these people. And some of them we're already familiar with, like Byron Coward can play a role. He can be defensive tackle 5 next year or whatever. We're going to need some depth, people. So if I were Muji, I'd start moving on some of these contracts. And that's about it. No more late breaking news. So I would say let's try to get this video up to 50 likes. Click the like button. Can we do it? I think we can. How about subscribing to the channel, or even thinking about subscribing to the Inner Circle? Inner Circle members get a lot of special information that you normal people, you don't get it. I mean, just ask any of the members. They get exclusive info, usually written info. I don't do a lot of exclusive videos just yet, but mostly in written form of inside information, things, the normie person just doesn't have, including, scouting reports on these college quarterbacks. Like, if you're not in the Inner Circle, you don't get that. I feel bad for you. But all you got to do is join the Inner Circle. We got different rungs. We got a $2 rung. We got a $5 tier. We got a $9, whatever fits your budget. You can fit it right in there. It's no problem. So if you want exclusive info, including college quarterback grades and rankings, hey, man, join the Inner Circle. There's a join button right below this video, and I will see you next time.